Welcome back, everyone. Craig and Jonah here today. What do you got for us, Jonah?
Well, I was grocery shopping yesterday, not locally in the larger city, and was going through the dairy section. And there was a woman there wearing the tightest yoga pants I've ever seen, light colored, and it was like the very laws of thermodynamics were being violated in front of my eyes. But I'm sure some of you are concerned for me.
Yeah.
Near occasion to sin.
Right.
But I got a pro tip for you. This is what you do. Because Jerry Seinfeld said, it's just like looking at the sun. Sometimes you shouldn't do it, but you just can't help it sometimes. But I knew what to do. Instead of focusing on her, you focus on all the guys around you and look at what they're looking at. And it's kind of amusing because every single guy was looking right at her while she's picking out her yogurt, and I don't know. At least you can get some enjoyment out of it that's not going to send you to the confessional, I don't think.
So instead, your sin is judging all the guys that are looking at her, right?
Well, I'm not judging anybody. I think it's funny. But maybe I should be warning them. Maybe I should be like, don't look.
Yeah.
Knock it off.
You got to, start making a scene, draw their attention away from the poor lady.
All these guys are looking at you.
Yeah.
So.
Good for you, Jonah.
Yep. Try my best. I'm not perfect, but I try my best. But so my wife was picking up the kids from school the other day. And one of the teachers were standing around talking. And one of the teachers had to have some kind of medical procedure where she had to just wear a hospital gown. And so the physician came in and she said, well, I still have my underwear on. Do I need to take those off? And I said, no, it's fine. One of the other teachers said, well, that's good because my husband would say that it's impossible to get my underwear off.
Oh boy.
So the amount of people that live in sexless marriages is not only sad but probably staggering as well.
Well, or at least most of us feel like we are.
That's true. Maybe it's not as dire as what was portrayed, but
yeah. What's the old Woody Allen?
Yeah.
Husband and wife were in therapy and they're asking how often they're intimate, and she says, oh, like all the time, like 2 to 3 times a week, and he says hardly ever, 2 to 3 times a week, right?
It's true.
So maybe it doesn't, but it seems like in a lot of marriages, including Catholic marriages, most men feel like they're, I don't say deprived is the right word, but unfulfilled, less than fulfilled in that.
That's probably fair.
I don't know, but maybe those
they just don't talk about it if they know what's good for them.
Yeah, right. But maybe those trads who cast off NFP and all that kind of stuff and invoke the marital debt, maybe they're not. I don't know.
Maybe they're fulfilled. I'm not sure.
Yeah, we'll never know.
Yeah, they're a quiet group.
Mm-hmm. That that is something that has been really, eye-opening to me is, and I don't know how many people are actually like this, or these people are just louder on the internet, but the amount of people that are just like very resistant to using NFP and are constantly warning couples, oh, you better have a really good reason.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to go to hell if you abstain more than you should be. And, citing Casti Connubii, or in the example of our old buddy, annulment proof, I think misstating Casti Connubii.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I'm not sure how many people, I think it's growing. I think that attitude is growing commensurate with the growing trend of traditionalism in the church.
You see more of it on Twitter lately.
Yeah. Which I just find fascinating.
Yeah.
Like, of all the problems we have, that's your target. Not that we're the only target, but really?
Yep.
Your problem is couples enduring NFP and go, like, I've said this before and I'll say it again. If you willingly endure the suffering of NFP, you by definition have a good reason to use it.
Yeah.
No one does this unless they have to.
Yeah,
for
that's
any
for sure. I agree.
Extended period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but man, oh man, that crowd is I mean, you look on Catholic Reddit. I mean, any because people in our Discord are always screenshotting that stuff and throwing it in the Discord, and you know, I mean, you get in those communities, and let's say you're a husband or wife, especially a wife, that says, "Man, I'm really feeling overwhelmed. We've got 4 young kids, and I mean, don't expect any sympathy there."
Just 4?
Oh yeah, this is
Is there a point where you do get sympathy, like 15,
I haven't seen that limit yet.
19?
No, I mean that I think represents a really um, bad trend in the church that I think is not um, is not making Catholicism more attractive to
Hmm.
non-Catholics. Like I just don't I don't know if they can't see it if they're so close to the situation, but you are not going to you can maybe I think maybe get people that have kind of got grown up with contraception being okay and persuade them to use NFP or something like that.
Hmm.
Maybe. Although that's a tough sell I think for a lot of people.
It's true.
But to say, "Oh, no, no, we're not only going to not let you do contraception, but you can't use NFP for most
Unless you
reason."
abstain totally,
Yeah.
right?
Wow.
Like purposeful abstinence for
Yeah.
longer periods is okay, right? Or not?
Well, that's the weird thing is I mean, in they tend to, although when you kind of back them in a corner, they're like, there's a contradiction there. But for the most part, they're like, yep, if you want to be totally abstinent, that's fine. But
Just not short-term
just
abstinence.
not intermittent, and don't be mixing in fun along. I mean, that's really what it amounts to is you know, th- but most of them have never used NFP. I think they think it's the best of all worlds. Like,
It's
uh,
too good.
yeah, it's too good, too enjoyable. You get to have sex, but
Just
not have
all
all
the
the baby.
pleasure in the world.
Yeah, and then if you read enough Christopher West, you might get that false impression. But
Hmm.
I don't think that's really how it is for most people. Um, can there be, is there merit in it, and can it bring good things to the marriage? Yes, I agree with that. But it is under the best of circumstances, it is something you endure. I think it's not something that anyone really enjoys. I don't think it's very often that both spouses enjoy it on any kind of a recurring
I think that's
basis.
fair.
So, when you see who was the kicker, Butker?
Yeah, Harrison Butker.
Yeah. When you see those folks out there, really just railing against even NFP, I just that think that makes us look pretty silly.
And the guy, I mean, he makes millions of dollars a year
Yeah.
to kick a football.
Yep.
He doesn't have too much to worry about financially, I wouldn't think.
Yeah. And I think a lot of these people are younger Catholics. Like I think it's one thing when it's one thing when you're in your 30s and you've got half a dozen kids and you're still kind of young and vibrant, and if you've got some family money and stuff like that. But I tell you, you get into your 40s.
An old grizzled veteran like yourself.
That's right. Things stop working the way they're supposed to all the time, and you are um lecturing your teenager while you're also holding a toddler and your arm
Mm-hmm.
is different. I have to go up and pick my daughter up from college today.
Mm.
I shouldn't be having more babies, probably. I mean,
Well, I know what the trads would say.
yeah, well, they want to come babysit my kids for me, help pay my tuition bills and stuff like that. But because it is a very much a youth movement, the traditional, the trad movement, um, and it seems to be a youth movement. And I don't know if maybe enough of them haven't gotten to this phase in life, this transition zone from, yeah, fine. I mean, just keep bringing in the kids to, oh crap, now we got to make it to menopause.
That's an official stage.
It is. Yep. oh crap, we got to make it to menopause. I'm in that.
You're right in the thick of it.
I'm in the thick of that, and I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel yet.
Which stage is the easiest then?
Mm.
Probably when you're first married, huh? But then you're still learning and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's. I actually think it's. Yeah, I don't know.
It's all difficult. You know, I mean, to a certain degree,
It is. Yeah, I'm trying to think.
In its own way.
Yeah.
Like, we only have 4 kids, but
yeah,
every stage is different and difficult in its own way. And we don't have teenagers yet, but we're getting close.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, this is really the first phase in our life where, like, getting pregnant would be a real hardship to our marriage. Maybe not totally financially, but I think it'd be a real mental adjustment, almost to the point of disappointment, right?
I mean, yeah.
And I know some will say that's just selfishness, and maybe it is. I mean, my wife still struggles with that all the time. Are we just being selfish? And I'm like, no, you are not. We're still trying to go on our first overnight without kids.
Just fire a live round every now and then just to make her happy.
Yeah.
Just doesn't have to worry.
That's all it will take. Unless things
I don't know.
slow down, but we're not going to find out.
Statistically, at your age, you have less than a 1% chance.
Yeah, I know what she'll say to that.
You're in the 1%.
Here's your 1% chance. Right? You can go sleep on your 1% couch, buddy.
In your 1% room, in your 1% house.
Yeah. So, so I think that, I mean, there's certainly parts of our life that are easier now, but, fatigue is starting to set in, I think.
Yeah.
We're not young. We're not young chickens anymore. Oh, that's the right word.
Well, it's interesting because there's 2 ages at which people age rapidly. One is 43 and the other one is around 60, I believe. Like, those are 2 years where, like, your body just goes through this change where you age rapidly.
Interesting. I wonder what is that true for men and women?
Men and women, yeah.
Huh. Okay. Well, I guess I got through the first one. And yeah, I mean, I definitely, it felt like my life transitioned a little bit there, but we still, I think my wife was under 40. I think she was just about 43 when we had her. She was like 42. I was over 43 when we had our last one. And this last one has felt pretty tough, but she's a tough cookie.
Yeah.
She continues to battle us. But there's also, it is also kind of a fun time of life now. I mean, you're kind of set up a little bit. You've got, you got sitters in the house. You can travel a little bit if you want to. So I'm kind of enjoying this, and we just don't want to restart that. Like, that first 3 to 4 years is really hard.
I think that is really hard,
right? And that's where it's like, I think that's where it's most difficult for couples, especially for moms who are like breastfeeding and all that. I think to not be fully absorbed in this new person.
Definitely.
Right. And maybe that's the way it's supposed to be, but
yeah.
So.
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah. So I just think, I mean, I think it's hard enough to persuade most people that just following Humani Vitae and NFP, I think is a pretty tough sell. We probably don't do a good job of encouraging it, but I try to be real about it.
Yeah.
Right. I try to be fair. There are parts of it that I think are pretty wholesome and wonderful. I'm still not persuaded that, for us, contraception would be, I mean, it would alleviate some problems for sure. but I don't think it would be a cure all by any means, and I think it
Yep.
would add additional difficulties to our marriage that we currently don't have to contend with.
I agree with that too in
So
our situation.
yeah, um, I think for me it isn't, and I think it's been a long time since we've had this discussion, but for me, it isn't the fact that we can't use contraception that's difficult. It's really um, what do you do during those abstinence periods, and what are the moral pitfalls for couples, especially for men. Like I said, you get out past 5 days or so, and it gets to be kind of a precarious situation. I think if you could enter those periods without living in constant moral paranoia, because that's what I do, or at least I used to.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, now I'm not as paranoid about it, but
Mm-hmm.
the activities are still an issue,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, that I think is the part of it that I was totally unprepared for
Mm-hmm.
when we got married, and the fear of that, and the anxiety about that really affected my relationship with my wife and negatively affected our marriage in it, because I just for so long I thought I'm the problem here. I just got to fix this, and I can't fix it. And my wife's unavailability is part of the reason why I'm in this situation. It's just this vicious circle um, that I don't know, I live in,
Mm-hmm.
and I think a lot of Catholic men live in. But I think if you go online, I think just my impression is that a lot of Catholic wives don't really understand what their men go through.
Yeah, and we don't understand what they go through in a lot of
Right,
ways.
right,
I think that's fair.
right. Um, I think for women, it is less. Um, I mean, I think it's more like emotional and mental loads whereas for men, I think it's more of a moral load. Like I
Mm-hmm.
think we struggle with abstinence for moral reasons than I think for women. It's it's something different,
Mm-hmm.
right? And of course, pregnancy and all that.
Yep.
So, to the extent that someone in our Discord was suggesting that men and women get treated differently in confession when it
Oh,
comes to this stuff,
okay.
and the example that was given, I believe, was, if I recall correctly, the couple, they were not married, and they had gotten a little carried away
Okay.
making out. Didn't
That happens.
didn't cross the Rubicon, so to speak, but got
Okay.
kind of close to it, right? And they both went in and confessed it, and then reconvened afterwards. The same priest,
Mm-hmm.
and according to the man, the priest was like, kind of like, okay, and here's your penance, move on, and then went into this long conversation with her
Hmm.
about it. But
In what way?
um, I think just more lecturing her, and was a little more um, I don't know, judgmental maybe
Why
towards
do you
her.
think that is?
Well,
Like, I mean, because I mean, in reality, she probably is the gatekeeper.
yeah,
I mean,
right,
in a lot of ways.
right. That's the way it was in our in our
Yeah, I
pre-marriage.
mean, so did they think that was fair or not in the discard?
Well, I know from the Discord that the women, and I didn't really, because for us guys, Catholic guys, confession is just kind of a regular part of our thing, and we just kind of go in and you take care of that business, and you
Mm-hmm.
move on.
Yep.
I think a lot of women are much more anxious about going to confession and confessing to a priest, especially I think if it comes to like these sexual type things.
Mm-hmm.
I know I know a number of women have expressed that to us in the Discord, and I can see how that might be.
Sure.
Um, one theory is that, be careful here how I say this. I think women might be a little more inclined to just kind of talking about it more and giving more detail
More
in the
details,
confessional
more
versus
meat for him to talk about.
yeah, whereas we're just kind of like, here's the bare bones what you need to know, buddy. You
Yep.
know, like I don't know.
And that's fair. I mean, and this is almost universally true. Whenever there's a long line in the confessional, somebody's in there a long time, it is 99.9. I don't even know if it's ever seen it.
Yeah.
You know, the other way. Oh, sometimes if the guy goes face to face,
Oh,
then they kind of seem to gab a little more.
okay.
But most of the time, it's especially an old woman. I don't know what she's got to confess, but
I mean, I don't know if they, women have that need for that connection a little more. If there's something like I don't think it's that women have more to confess, but I think the experience seems to be different
or
for a
they're
lot of
looking for
women.
validation, or maybe they're asking. I'm not sure.
Yeah. And I don't know, and so I don't know what goes on in the confessional on the women's side. But I thought it was interesting.
I'm glad I don't know, to be honest. Probably.
Yeah. So if you go to confession with your wife, do you like break it up a little bit so it's not obvious to the priest that husband and wife just went to confession back to back?
Typically we go back to back.
Do you?
Yep.
Who goes first?
Me. It depends though. Like if there's a line and I know it's not going to work out, then she can go.
Yeah.
But no.
Who do you think tends to go to confession more often, men or women?
Well, my wife goes to confession once a year, and I go to confession more often than that.
same with us. I don't know.
Like, I don't know why that is. I don't know
Yeah.
if she doesn't. She would say that she's too busy, or like she's got a lot going on, and that's fair. But I don't know. It's one of those things where I just kind of make the time to do it.
Yeah, I would say that's definitely been true for us too. But
My wife is a saint, though, so I mean, she probably doesn't have much to confess.
you think she's listening to this?
Just covering all bases.
Send her a transcript. I mean, I know for me, if it weren't for these sexual related matters, I won't say need is the right word. I don't think I would feel the need to go to confession as often as I do. And I think for us men, it tends to be a little more black and white.
So maybe it's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean,
it could be.
Is that true? Like, I don't know. I mean, it could be. I mean, confession tends to be.
It feels good every time I go to confession.
Yeah.
Like I love the feeling of post confession.
Yeah.
The post confession bliss.
Yeah. I went to confession more often when I was scrupulous and anxiety riddled.
Yeah, and that's tough too. You don't want to be scrupulous. It's paralyzing.
Yeah. So.
But then you read what some of the saints have said, and it's like, well, they can definitely drive you to scrupulosity.
Yeah. Yeah. I know a lot of people struggle with confession. And I think it's tough to get your kids. I mean, I think it's one thing to get the kids to go to confession when they're young. Our kids go to the same Catholic school and it's baked in. I think they have monthly confessions.
Monthly confession, yeah.
But once they get to the teenage level,
when they really need it.
Yeah, they seem to not be as motivated to do that. And maybe that's my fault. We just the way our dynamics is, I end up going to confession somewhere else. A lot of times to the same place you go because it's right next to my work. Taking the family on Saturday afternoon to confession to the local priest is not real practical for us.
Yeah.
And even going to the communal confessions, like we have ours tomorrow night, is not super handy for a large family because the last thing I want to do is sit there for 45 minutes trying to
rein in everybody while
Yeah.
one parent is in the confessional, or
Yeah.
you know.
I'll undo my confession before I get out of there again, right? And so that the kids don't really get that modeling
Mm-hmm.
as much. The one thing I will say that I think is really great about the some of the traditional Latin masses or bigger parishes is they'll often have priest hearing confessions during mass.
That is nice.
As crazy as it's like, so like you're there and you can just slip over. Like
Mm-hmm.
that actually is. I wish we could
Absolutely
go back to that,
mm-hmm.
but the numbers are such that we just don't have enough clergy to go around.
Yep.
But that would make it a lot easier.
Yep.
And you're setting that example for your kids because they
Mm-hmm.
see mom and dad go up and go to confession. So
Yep.
yeah.
No, I agree. I take advantage of that whenever that is present. You know,
Mm-hmm.
some of the churches around here have that.
Mm-hmm.
But,
yeah. So maybe it'll come back. I mean, we're going to need more priests, but you know, we're getting more. You know, our church is going through a renovation after it was renovated in post Vatican II, and now the designs look pretty good. There's going to be back altars and communion rails and all that kind of stuff. So
yep.
Maybe we can get perpetual confessions.
Yeah.
Going in, that may require consolidating some churches or whatever. But
yeah, I don't know. It'd be kind of nice if there was an app for that too, where you could just meet a priest, anywhere.
I've said that before. It'd be like Uber, where you could just a priest could say, "Hey, I'm available for a half hour. I'm sitting at the wherever,
McDonald's or whatever."
Yeah. Find me in the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Like that would. We need to do that. Someone needs to figure that out, because I don't know. I find for us, being a busy family, trying to make confession work,
it's difficult.
Is tough.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. So
yeah.
So anyway,
any updates on the wandering through the desert or your plight? Nothing you want to talk about?
It is. I don't want to go back to that. I mean,
the abstinence or
the constant stuff. Yeah.
Just
abstinence is part of my life.
I thought it was great. Well, you had like these moments of bliss where you thought it was great and you could do it forever.
They're outweighed by
the allure of the flesh.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there is that connection that you lose, and there's all the benefits that you lose, because there's a reason why we all enjoy it and crave it so much.
It's there for a reason.
Yeah. Can your marriage survive without it? Yes, but
maybe. I mean,
maybe, but
it might not.
But I'm just not in any way persuaded that it's a recipe for most people to succeed, above and beyond what could happen with at least some level of intimacy in their marriage. So, I mean, I think maybe the 2 weeks or so of abstinence maybe won't seem so bad. Doesn't seem so bad now.
No.
But I tell you,
you've expanded your pain threshold that far.
Maybe, maybe. But I don't know, those 3 to 4 weeks seem like an eternity.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So I
saw an interesting comment similar to this on Twitter yesterday. They were talking about whether or not Saint Joseph ever looked at the Virgin Mary with like wanting eyes, and how people felt about that. Some people were appalled, obviously, but it's like they couldn't believe that somebody would ask the question, or that there's just no way that Saint Joseph would do that. And I don't know. I mean, to even have the thought, I don't know.
Yeah, I saw that too, and I said,
of course, you got in the mix there.
It's like I have to respond to this, but yeah. So the Twitter thing was, and this was a lady that is a
Ex-porn.
former porn star,
Yep.
right? So she's a controversial figure, but she's all gung ho.
She's gung ho now.
Right.
I think she just became Catholic. Like, was it a year ago or 2 years ago?
She's new. Those, So we'll see. We'll see how long the enthusiasm lasts. But she said, serious question for men. If an angel told you that your virgin wife was going to give birth to God, you then witnessed the birth of God and had the awesome responsibility of helping to raise God, would you even think about having sex with a woman who carried God inside her?
I mean, I'm not married to the Virgin Mary, I guess, so I don't know. Because maybe there was something supernatural that happened there that I can't explain. Because that, I don't know. Just even say that he wouldn't even think about it. I mean, that's
Well, I just said anyone who says they wouldn't even think about it is lying.
Well, that's a fair response, yeah.
I mean,
I
don't know
how, to you?
Huh?
Did she respond to you or anything? Or?
No, it got some likes, but she didn't. And I think based on her comments later on, I think she was genuine. Like, she wasn't trying to like set up men. But of course, all the normal pious people came in, mostly women, and said, "Of course you wouldn't." But I don't know how.
That just shows that women don't understand.
Yeah, I don't know how a woman that is exemplar becomes less attractive. So she'd have all.
God handpicked this woman, to be his mother.
Yeah, like
she's probably not gonna be,
She has all the great qualities of my wife, and then some more. I don't know how that's going to curb desire.
Britney Spears and Mother Teresa combined, maybe. Right. I don't know. I mean,
yeah,
and then some.
Yeah. I just think, and Joseph was not without original sin. He was
just a guy,
average guy. So I'm completely willing to accept that he remained a virgin and they never did anything, but I'm very skeptical that it was not a burden for him or not something that he didn't desire. He's a guy. He's living in a house.
The tradition is that the guy was really old. And I don't know what really old was 2,000 years ago. He could have been 45.
Older than me, apparently.
But
did they share a bed?
Oh,
were they like the old the 1950s movies where they had separate beds stuff?
Boy, see, that's a good question for Twitter. Did they share a bed?
Yeah,
I wonder what they would say. They must have.
Did he see
that
changing?
That also? Oh gosh!
I mean, I think our Catholic sensibilities are like, of course not, because we have this very. I think we still have this very skeptical and negative view about the body and intimacy.
Yeah, I don't know. If they slept in the same bed, there would undoubtedly be some temptation at some point. Unless he was really old.
I mean,
like if he was in his 90s.
I don't know if that's enough. He wasn't that's the problem is I think our narrative around Joseph, has been colored by how people have viewed this stuff over time. And they were very, very uncomfortable with the idea that he could have any kind of overt sexual desire. And so the way they deal with that is he was a very old man, which, okay, fine. Extremely. Well, what does that mean? So was Joseph super chaste, or was he too old to be bothered by it?
That's a distinction,
right?
An important distinction,
right?
I don't know, because there's so much of daily life where that temptation is possible, and to just think that he was out, sanding wood or nailing stuff together all day.
Yeah, I mean,
just avoiding,
Yeah, I mean, I just think that I just don't think it's realistic to think that they lived a otherwise normal life and shared a bed or shared the type of close interaction that most of us share, and that it didn't at least create a desire or a longing or failures on his
just
part.
a simple desire for connection.
Yeah.
That
Right.
happens.
Right.
And to think that they probably lived in a house that was like, as big as this room.
Yeah, it's not like they had, expansive estates and stuff like that.
Boy, that's a really good point. I do wonder what happened there. I don't know, but maybe there's a reason he died early. So he didn't have to deal with the temptation. Or I'm not sure. Because there's not much about him in the Bible.
Right.
All of a sudden, he was just gone one day, right?
Yeah, I mean, his legacy seems to have grown over time.
Because they think he died when Jesus was like a teenager, maybe, or
because he's not there for the crucifixion. Is that the idea? Is that?
Yep, he's not there for the crucifixion.
But people died young back then too, so I don't know that means. I mean, I would have been an old man probably back then. I'm kind of an old man now, but
say experienced.
Yeah, experienced, weathered. But I think that's why it's and the people that like to hold up the example of the Holy Family and say, well, why are you complaining because you have to be abstinent for a while, Mary and Joseph, like they kind of like invoke it when it's helpful to them and say, he would have had the same desire as everyone else and he went a lifetime without it. So certainly you poor boys can go a few weeks or months or even a few years without it. And maybe that's all well and good, but I'm very skeptical of the idea that Joseph didn't have the same.
Even think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's not a sin in thinking about it.
Hey, he's married to her.
Yeah. I mean, that seems like a very natural, almost. That's I think there'd be something wrong if you didn't at least have the desire. Right.
That does make it a lot easier.
Yeah. Right.
I would think. I mean, I can't really even say that with certainty, I guess, but.
Yeah. So I was actually going to talk a little bit about, but maybe we'll chew on this next time, but it kind of, it segues to this, this controversy that still comes up about whether celibacy is better than marriage. And actually let's go ahead and I'll put it on the, so every so often, because I think what the Council of Trent here, I'm going to put it on the screen here. And this is over at where Peter is. This is Paul Fahey wrote this. But I see this quote a lot from the Council of Trent. If I can zoom in, I can't. Oh, let's see here. Oh, yeah, there we go. If anyone saith that the marriage state is to be placed above the state of virginity or of celibacy, and that it is not better and more blessed to remain in virginity or in celibacy than to be united in matrimony, let him be anathema.
Strong wording.
Yeah, I mean, anathema is what let him be damned, right? Like, or at least be excluded from the church. And
so the Council of Trent was what year?
The Council of Trent was in like the 1500s. It was in response to the Protestant Reformation, I believe.
Okay.
And then this, he kind of makes, this is the old comic from the, well, not comic, but
it does.
It looks like a comic from the Baltimore Catechism,
And I can't argue with that either, other than I would say this is good, this may be easier. And maybe that's why it's better.
I mean, well, it's but that's not the way it's defended, right?
No,
I think they always celibacy is better because it's harder. You're giving up marriage.
Well, but marriage is probably harder than being single.
I think it is. I think they just, but I don't think they view it that way.
Well, I'm just gonna say I think it's a little bit harder.
I don't see a lot of priests forming podcasts talking about how difficult celibacy is. The uncharted Catholic priest.
It's true. I mean, I don't know.
But I think this kind of stuff, I think is all well and good, but I think like the whole attitude that we have about Saint Joseph and to some extent the Blessed Virgin is based. I, I just don't think they'll deny it, but I don't think you can really reconcile that with the idea that marriage and sexual intimacy is a good thing. It isn't something that's more or less tolerated, which was
It's not really celebrated.
right. Yeah,
That's fair.
if you can't handle the celibacy, fine, go get married, whatever. But
Even though it just makes it worse.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah. So yeah, I guess I would say if your reason for getting married is you really find
that is not the reason.
Chastity to be a struggle, don't go get married, because that is not going to be your solution.
It's not. I don't know how it was in St. Paul's day, but it must have been different.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I don't know. I mean, we all have our cross, and I'm sure celibacy is not easy. And I think the loneliness would absolutely be.
There's a lot of loneliness in marriage, though, too. That's even worse.
There is something about that, because the loneliness shouldn't be there, and it's
mm-hmm.
not only loneliness, but you might be living in moments of contempt. Right?
And everybody should know that those moments are passing.
Yeah.
And eventually things get better. But I mean, it's true, though. There are very lonely times in marriage that I think are far worse than when I was single.
Yeah. And you're trapped. I mean,
you're anchored.
You're in this house together, right? You're in this life together. You have kids together. Like when you go through those really difficult times, I would say the hard part isn't the loneliness. Like, it's just painful, deeply painful.
Right? We can laugh about it now, but it's true.
It is, right?
And everybody goes through those.
Yeah, and you can't really escape it. Like, you're kind of stuck. No. I mean, some people do, and they just say, this is not worth it. And
yeah.
Whatever.
But then I think divorce is a hell of all its own. So then you have to work things out with somebody that you're divorced to.
Yeah.
You're divorced from.
Yeah. I mean, it's not something I ever thought about, but logically, I'm like, there's no, as bad as I may feel right now, there's no way that's
there's no way it's better.
Kind of like what I was talking about earlier about contraception. There are some aspects to it that are appealing. But on net, it's not an upgrade. I don't think it would be, right?
Absolutely.
I think it would bring its own host of problems. And so.
Yep. So that's why we're still married, huh?
Still married and still, at risk of procreating. Right? So, yeah.
No?
So anyway, well, we covered a lot of different things there, and but I think these are really important conversations that I don't think get treated quite this way on the Catholic media and stuff like that. Twitter may be the exception, but
no.
I think for every one of my comment, there was a whole bunch of, of course he didn't, and whatever, and all this very good pious people, and I don't know, maybe they believe it, but I think they feel like that's what they're supposed to say.
It's probably true. I don't know.
Yeah.
If he didn't, you're right. It does kind of lessen, the kind of virtue that we give to Saint Joseph in a way.
You throw me into that situation, and I'd still have a grumpy podcast, I think.
Well, guess we'll never know, but
I hope not.
Yeah, because then if he complained about it,
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, neither of us can imagine what that would be like.
Yeah,
so, to be married to a sinless woman, and
to me that seems like an enormous cross. So, God bless you, Joseph. If
I don't know, but she was sinless, so maybe like it was just amazing.
Yeah,
I mean, you can't deny that.
But I still think that would do nothing but
make it worse.
Desire.
You're
like you said, like this is the perfect
So nobody has it perfect in this life.
Right. Right. Right.
That's the moral of the story.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right.
All right.
Well, the holidays are next week, so good luck with that.
Yep. Thank you.
You and Mrs. Santa, and
Yep.
we'll have to figure out a way to record next week.
Yep.
So, but yeah, I hope this should be our last episode before the holidays. So I hope everyone has a wonderful Christmas with family and friends, and it's not too stressful.
Yep.
And so yeah. All right.
All right.
Thanks everyone for watching. Thank you, Jonah.
Thank you.
And until next time, everyone.
Bye.
Have a good one.